name is Shelley Mayer, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Vice President East for Partners for Affordable Housing. It's a privilege to host you this evening. I want to begin the evening, of course, with gratitude and acknowledgement. We are gathered in Toronto, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Pétun, and the Huron-Wendat peoples. This land is also home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We honor their enduring relationship with this land and recognize our shared responsibility to work toward a more just and equitable future. At Partners for Affordable Housing, we recognize that meaningful progress in affordable housing requires collaboration, respect, and shared action across public, private, philanthropic, and social profit sectors, grounded in strong relationships with Indigenous communities who have cared for this land since time immemorial. Just a quick note that this event is being photographed and captured on video. If you prefer not to be photographed, please let our photography team know, and we will make sure to omit any photos that you may have been captured in. So I want to begin by thanking our community architect and block builder partners for helping make tonight possible. People's Group, BMO, Peakhill Capital, Van City Community Investment Bank, and Colliers. We are sincerely grateful for your support for this year's National Housing Week campaign and for tonight's event. Your leadership reflects what can happen when sectors unite with a shared commitment to housing solutions. I would also like to acknowledge a few special guests, including Jean Lemerand of Build Canada Homes and Parti Candeval, City Councillor for Scarborough Southwest. We appreciate your interest in this work and attendance today. Tonight, you will hear about bold ideas, urgent realities, and the role that socially inspired capital can play in addressing Canada's housing crisis. You will also hear directly from partners who are already stepping forward in important ways. So with that, the first community architect partner we'd like to introduce is Peakhill Capital. As a leading CMHC-approved lender in 2024, Peakhill funded $1.7 billion in mortgages to properties with affordability components and expects to surpass that figure in 2025. It is my pleasure to welcome Cameron Dowell, Director at Peakhill Capital, overseeing operations of CMHC term and construction financing, to share a few words and introduce our first speaker.
Okay, thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As noted, my name is Cameron Dowell, and I oversee the CMHC program here at Peakhill Capital. Peakhill Capital was created with purpose. Our why is to support housing in Canada and to help create a more affordable homes for people who need them. Since inception in 2019, our team has funded over 3,000 transactions, totaling more than $12 billion in funding. We have teams working in Quebec, British Columbia, Alberta, Nova Scotia, and obviously Ontario. We are funding all across Canada. Through our CMHC program alone, we have funded more than $3 billion in affordable loans. In 2025, 70% of the pools we've securitized through the CMB program include an affordability component. Supporting affordable housing is a major part of what we do. I'm here today to speak about one of Canada's biggest challenges. For many people, the most important issue is simple: having a place to live. We don't have enough homes in the growing population, and if this continues, Canada will face a serious shortage by 2030. Peakhill believes that being a responsible lender means helping address this problem. We are committed to helping strengthen the housing sector. The housing sector needs more support so they can access capital, complete their projects, and include affordability as part of their plans. We believe in building a strong housing sector, one that can meet today's needs and drive long-term change. And this is why we have partnered with this is why we support Partners for Affordable Housing. Many affordable housing projects get delayed because of funding gaps. Our work with Partners for Affordable Housing focuses on creating financing options that help these projects get built across Canada. My call to action today is this: no matter what sector you're in, obviously public, private, social, or philanthropic, we all have a role to play. This is a Canadian problem, and it'll take all of us to solve it. Partners for Affordable Housing is an important and timely initiative that fills the real gap in our housing system. And Peakhill Capital, we are proud to support this work. At the heart of tonight's event is a national call to action, and a leader who has spent the last 2 years turning that call into something real. Jolene Livingston is the founder of Partners for Affordable Housing, a national foundation mobilized social-inspired capital to accelerate affordable housing initiatives across Canada. With nearly 30 years of experience in social impact space, Jolene has built her career at the intersection of systems, sectors, and shared purpose. She's known for bringing people together, aligning interests, and unlocking resources, and helping partners achieve more together. She's a seasoned entrepreneur, a trusted advisor to the social profit sector, and a strategic ally for philanthropists committed to meaningful long-term change. Over her career, she has helped lead campaigns from $25 million to more than $1.4 billion, bringing deep expertise in government, strategy, and community investments. Tonight, at this launch, she's here to share the vision behind Partners for Affordable Housing and more about the path ahead. Please welcome Joan Livingston.
Thank you, Cameron, and thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. Blown away by the reception that we got for tonight's event, and very proud to be here with you. So, as mentioned, I'm Jolene. I'm the CEO and founder of Partners for Affordable Housing. I also have a consultancy, and I've worked with nonprofits for, as was said earlier, nearly 30 years. And so I've seen a lot in that time frame, and I've learned a lot in that time frame, and it is my distinct privilege to be standing here before you, and thank you for attending. So, I just want to start with, we are all 1 degree away from somebody who is or who has been in housing precarity, and I'd like you to meet my dad, Scotty Cook. My dad passed away a few years ago. He was 89 years old. Number one, he never thought he was going to live that long. But number two, as he got closer to 89, there wasn't a day that went by that he wasn't worried about outliving his finances. When he did pass, my inheritance was $1,000. And I'm not bitter about that in the least. And, but my dad is one of those people that was on the fringe, could have been in housing precarity. He never would have been because he has a family that would have always made sure he was safe. But that is not the truth for all people. And if you look to your left and if you look to your right, you will see somebody who knows somebody or has been in housing precarity themselves or may find themselves in housing precarity one day. And so, as we heard earlier, this is a Canadian problem, and it's incumbent on all of us to do what we can. So Partners for Affordable Housing is really focused on the 3 million, and I would say if we had a ticker tape up here, you would see this number climbing daily, that are living in low and very low income circumstances. And I don't need to tell anybody in this room that the capital stack and the financing around non-market housing is a miracle when it comes together. And if we look at the long-term investment on that, the social return on investment on that, for every dollar that we put into non-market housing, there's a saving of anywhere from 2 to 6 on our social systems. And so we need to start thinking short-term and act immediately, but long-term in terms of what does this mean for us as Canadians? What does this mean for the health of our country? What does this mean for the viability of our communities? And what does it mean for each of us as Canadians? So we're here, we're working from anywhere from shelter to non-market housing, and people will ask, what does that mean? We don't define non-market housing, nor do we define the solutions around non-market housing. We work with nonprofits who are defining and working with the populations in need and understanding what they need to do to serve their populations. So enter Partners for Affordable Housing. Our role is mobilizing socially inspired capital for non-market housing. We sit at the intersection of those who can help and those who need assistance in terms of nonprofits. So that's impact investment, philanthropy, and corporate community investment. And similar to what we would see, for instance, with like Heart and Stroke Foundation or Canadian Cancer, Food Banks Canada, we need a national lens around affordable housing to mobilize that philanthropic capital. And it did not exist prior to Partners for Affordable Housing. We have had many, many, many conversations over the last year. We've asked everybody who should know, does something like this exist? Is it being mobilized? And the answer was no. So we are here to work with philanthropists, we're here to work with corporate community investment, and we're here to work with social impact investors to work at the connection of projects and affordable housing programs to make sure they get over the line into market. So the not so terrible twos. We turned 2 this month. And it's been a journey. Shelley, my co-founder, who is your MC today, I called her back in 2022 and I said, I have an idea, I've done a bit of homework, and how would you like to join me on a journey? And there's a very good chance you may not ever get paid for the work that you do. It may not be viable, but I think it'll work. And she was like, sure, why not? So 2022, we were like, okay, who else do we need to talk to and bring on side? Because we need champions around us that know this space and can advise us and guide us on our journey. And Shelley, in all her great wisdom, was like, Mitchell Cohen from Daniels Corporation, we have to talk to him. So back in 2022, I had my very first conversation with Mitchell Cohen, and he listened intently to this woman from Calgary who he'd never met with before. We were blocked for half an hour. He gave me more than an hour of his time. He asked very smart questions. He was a little skeptical, but he was like, yeah, philanthropy has a role to play and we need to bring it to affordable housing. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do some work and we're gonna come back, and if we come back, will you play as an advisory role for us if we can get some traction? And he was like, come back when you have traction, we'll have another conversation. So we did. 2023, we got our first seed funding from the government of Alberta. In 2024, we were able to start our first community collaboration, so we are working in partnership in the town of Canmore to do a collaborative campaign. We also received the best gift ever. So we were climbing this enormous hill. So if you've ever been a founder or an entrepreneur, getting things started is hard. Even if you've got a brilliant idea, everybody wants to be the first, second one in. And so 2024, we got charitable registration, and within a month, we got 2 $1 million gifts that changed the trajectory of our work. We were able to hire staff. We were able to start to formulate some systems and some processes, and we were able to build some technology, which we are very proud of and we will share with you. So we raised our first millions, and this year we have launched what we are calling Front Door, which I will share a little bit more about in a moment. I want to share that the work that we are doing is case study inspired. It has worked in other communities and it can work again. So from 2012 to 2018, in Calgary, 9 agencies came together and did a collaborative campaign. Over that time period, they raised nearly $300 million, $75 million of which came from philanthropy. Not only did they raise the money, it cost them $1 for every 25 they raised. That's what effective fundraising can do. 21 new buildings were built, the last one was opened last year, and almost 2,000 Calgarians were housed. But what also happened was the brand of each of these organizations that you can see here was lifted enormously. Resolve became a household name in Calgary, and there was excitement and enthusiasm. There was philanthropists and there were developers that were at the table at the beginning and taking on projects and making them work. It was amazing for our community. It got international recognition, but it stopped. So we're here to replicate what we saw happen with Resolve at a regional level, but more at a national level, we are raising funds. We are raising a first mile fund, which looks like pre-construction investment. That could be anything around feasibility. It could be soil testing. It could be community engagement, but making sure that the projects get off on the right foot to begin with, because if they don't, their chances of success are slim to none. We're raising for a last mile fund, and what that means is we'll put equity in a project once we've done the raise at any point in the project that it needs to either compete for CMHC funding, to compete for government funding, or to get the project over the hump and closed and doors open. And a tenant stability fund. We know that there are lots of organizations out there right now already doing rental supplement programs, but they don't have enough money and they have long wait lists, and there are units ready to be occupied. So these are highly houseable populations that could be housed tomorrow if there was more funding. And so our focus right now is really on the collaborative campaigns. We intend to do about 4 of them in the next year. The Tenant Stability Fund and the Last Mile. And we want to introduce to you, we are very, very proud, and Amy is here. Amy, where are you? Over here. So talk to Amy if you want to learn more about Front Door. This is her baby to take on. But over the last 6 months, we've built Canada's first directory of affordable housing projects. And so to date, we have 15 projects up and running. We did 2 webinars this spring, one in Ontario and one in Alberta. We had more than 70 nonprofits sign up and come and learn about what it is we were proclaiming to do with this directory. And so what it becomes is our case for support or investment prospectus. We can sit with any philanthropist anywhere and say, what are you interested in? What do you want to fund? And how can we help you do it? Because we've heard from philanthropists, they want to help. They don't know where to get started. They don't know where the projects are. They don't know what a viable project is. So we can sit down with them. We can filter through this Front Door directory. We can show them if they're interested in youth at risk. Tell me where you're interested, what community, how big of an impact do you want to make, and how much money do you have? And we can help them take their money and direct it to projects that are of interest to them. So this is a little bit of an example of getting down to the project level. This is Homes for Heroes, one of their projects. So it's an opportunity for each of you who have nonprofit projects to actually get your project into the directory and showcase at a national and regional level what it is that you're doing. And with our work, we will try and connect you with funders. It's time for an all play. We all need to be at the table, and there's a way for all of us to play a role in the affordable housing crisis, and in a way that is meeting you where you're at in terms of your time, talent, and treasure. We've coined the term P4 partners because that's how campaigns work best. We've worked on big monumental campaigns, and we always have government, private sector, philanthropists, and nonprofits sitting at the table together creating solutions, not othering each other, not pressing solutions upon each other, but talking genuinely about what is your ability, your interests, and your capabilities to get involved and engaged in a solution. So I want to say thank you to all of our supporters. We've listed them all here. I won't go into a bunch of detail about each of them, but I want to share that we've been at this hard for 2 years, and we've mobilized nearly $7 million in capital. That's 2 years with a very skeleton crew, and we are scaling quickly. So thank you to anyone who's in this room that has supported us. We couldn't be here without you, and thank you for being the first and second ones in. So what's next for us? We're going to raise and deploy funds. I'm excited to share with you we are starting a $2 million campaign to raise tenant stability funds, which we will start deploying as of late spring 2026. I'm pleased to state that we've already raised nearly $750,000 towards that fund. And so we're saying conservatively $2 million. I hope it's going to be a lot higher than that. We hope to be in at least 3 communities in the new year, doing collaborative campaigns and working together across nonprofits to raise money for their projects in their communities. And we have some individuals here tonight who you'll hear from that are keen to work with us to make that happen. And finally, we'll strengthen our core. At the basis of any enterprising organization is its people. And I want to share that we have a number of team members here today. If you could just quickly raise your hands. Hermione, Shelley, Amy, Luciana, and am I missing anyone? Small crew, working their butts off and doing amazing work. I am so proud of this team and all that they've accomplished in just 2 short years. We're a toddler, we're a bit wobbly, but we're getting stability, we're finding our way, and we're finding our voice. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you, Jolene. I have to find my place now. Thank you, Jolene. Your tenacity and vision has been a true driving force of our work together, and I'm so happy that you tapped me to join you in this adventure 3 years ago. Now it's my amazing pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Mitchell Cohen. Mitchell is the CEO of the Daniels Corporation and honorary board chair of Partners for Affordable Housing. Mitchell is a longtime champion of community building and equitable development, as you will hear in his talk today. His work in Regent Park is one of Canada's most powerful examples of what becomes possible when housing, culture, and community are brought together with intention. Mitchell is also an artist, a musician, and the author of Rhythms of Change. His reflections on place, people, and belonging have shaped conversations on housing across the country. At Partners for Affordable Housing, we are sincerely grateful for Mitchell's guidance, leadership, and support in our work. So please join me in welcoming Mitchell Cohen.
Thank you, Shelley. Gabriella, you're here somewhere with the slideshow? Where's Gabrielle? Yes, we got a thumbs up there. Jolene, that was really amazing, inspirational. Shelley, thank you for that introduction. To the entire team at Partners, thank you for what you have been doing over the past 2 years, energizing me and so many other people, as we can see from the attendance here in this room. It's just really, really wonderful to see you all here. I want to also give you a very warm welcome to this space, the World Urban Pavilion. This is a global knowledge exchange hub. It was created by United Nations Habitat, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Urban Economy Forum, and our team at Daniels. We were thrilled when UN Habitat and Urban Economy Forum chose Regent Park as the place from which best practices in sustainable urban development could be shared, could be projected around the world. This pavilion, though, is much more than that. It's also a truly powerful source of hope and optimism. It's a gathering place in which seeds of change are planted and nurtured. It's a platform from which we can begin to address the many challenges of our times. Which is why it's so fitting to launch Partners for Affordable Housing right here from this platform. For me and for all of us at Daniels, affordability is the burning challenge of our times. And I've borrowed that phrase from Paul Klein, who's here tonight, because it really struck home. We have a burning challenge here for all Canadians, and it is the crisis of affordability. Now, over the years and through every change in government, our team has invested enormous energy advocating for action on affordability within the halls of power at every level of government. But more importantly, perhaps, we've also spent much of every single day building partnerships with nonprofit housing providers, partnerships that make an impact, one home, one household, one family at a time. With that focus, we've demonstrated over and over what can be achieved when all sectors come together to create homes that will be affordable today, but also remain affordable in perpetuity. We've also been blessed to act as the City of Toronto's partner on the Regent Park revitalization over the past 20 years. Over those years, through setbacks, challenges, and successes, Regent Park has truly emerged as the gold standard by which a challenged inner-city neighborhood can be reimagined and truly transformed. As the seeds of change began to grow right here in Regent Park, it became critically important for me to share stories of the transformation, to share stories of the remarkable residents of this community, residents who envisioned a better future, a better quality of life for themselves, for their families, for their community. It also became important to encapsulate lessons learned so that other cities and other citizens here in Canada and around the world could envision and implement transformation strategies within their unique communities, their unique neighborhoods. The result was Rhythms of Change, chronicling my reflections of the journey, describing the delicate balancing act between aspiration and expectation on one side and practical reality on the other. Rhythms of Change also describes how our company came to be involved in the Regent Park revitalization. I've had the privilege of leading the Daniels Corporation for 41 years, joining John Daniels' startup company in the way back when, 1984, a company that has now developed 40,000 homes. The premise underlying everything that we have done from minute one, the premise is very simple, that our business can be a platform for progressive social change, delivering positive outcomes for all stakeholders, not just the developer. Now, that fundamental premise flows from a singular moment back in 1973, yes, when I was 3 years old. I was fresh out of university. I landed my first job as a community worker with the YMCA in Montreal. If you look at that slide on the very far right, I think you'll see some hippie kid with a bag that I made in Ibiza. I still have it. Every once in a while, I pull it out. My job was to deliver health and recreation programming within the Gardens Apartments, a rundown housing complex in an otherwise very affluent suburb in Montreal's West End. The assignment, health and recreation programming, was totally derailed when the landlord delivered eviction notices, giving his tenants 30 days to get out, to vacate homes that they had been living in for years, and in fact, some of them for decades. Overcome with fear of an uncertain future, the tenants turned to me. Okay, fine. I was 22. Their 22-year-old community worker, their YMCA community worker, they turned to me for help. That day truly rocked my world. The vulnerability, the uncertainty, the precipitous ledge upon which so many people live, striving to keep their feet on solid ground, but ever fearful that one day the ground will just disappear with no safety net to cushion the fall. My reaction that day was visceral. I felt a responsibility to do something. Although it took 3 years, that something led to the creation of one of the first housing co-ops in Quebec. But it also led to a lifelong passion to use my energy, to use my skills, and ultimately the power and the platform of our private sector company to create affordable housing. Fast forward several decades to the year 2005, and news that the city of Toronto was going to revitalize Regent Park, the highly stigmatized inner city neighborhood that had been cut off from the rest of the city by design. Built in the 1940s and the 1950s, Regent Park had been conceived with the best of intentions under a garden city planning model. The premise was simple. If you take out the public streets, cars are removed from the equation, and kids will be able to play safely within the gardens. That was the theory. Reality was devastatingly different. Without eyes on the street, as Jane Jacobs taught us in the 1970s, and without an ongoing investment, the ongoing investment that's required to maintain a state of good repair, the Garden City very quickly became an island unto itself, isolated and deeply, deeply stigmatized. As we prepared to respond to the city's proposal call, my partner Martin Blake and I spent several months right here in this neighborhood, on the ground, in the community, listening, learning, and coming to understand the hopes and the dreams of local residents. Our conclusion were very simple. Firstly, that honoring and respecting local voices would be the most important building block for success. And secondly, that a partnership-based model was the only way to bring those hopes and dreams to life. Fortunately, bold leadership at the City of Toronto and at Toronto Community Housing embraced the public-private partnership model, creating a template by which the complex and highly textured process of urban transformation can be achieved. Now, one of the top headlines of the overall revitalization is how Regent Park changed the dial completely on the overall process of urban renewal. Typically, urban renewal reflected a heavy-handed top-down process directed by planners and politicians, and as a result, entire neighborhoods have been bulldozed, with local residents already marginalized, pushed even further to the margins. The Regent Park process turned that on its head. And I'm thrilled that John Fox is here today, one of the architects at the Toronto Community Housing, who embraced that public-private partnership, who turned that process on its head, who said there is a new and different way that we can work with the private sector to make good things happen. Perhaps one of the other significant lessons learned is the power that that partnership can create, the power of collaboration. And this has been particularly evident integrating affordable homes within the overall composition. One such innovation is our Partnership for Affordable Living program, in which 10% of a purpose-built rental building was leased for 40 years under a head lease to Wood Green Community Services at deeply affordable rates. This program, which integrates affordable homes within a purpose-built rental building, is simple to implement. It could be 10%, it could be 20%, it could be 30%. It just depends on the investment. It is easily replicable today, tomorrow, and the next day across the country. We've also demonstrated pathways to affordable home ownership for Regent Park residents and first-time buyers from across the city through shared equity mortgages, also referred to as down payment assistance programs. Another innovation was a partnership with Black North Initiative, creating affordable live-work studios for artists, bringing enormous benefit to both the artists and the broader community through a social impact exchange. The artists have an affordable home and an affordable studio in which to live and to create. And the broader community benefits through the impact exchange, in which the artist contributes 8 hours per month in mentorships, free art classes, and other arts engagement opportunities for members of the community. River House, a collaboration with L'Arche Toronto, and I'm thrilled that 2 of the architects of the River House from L'Arche are here today. River House is an innovation that deserves a very special mention. People of all ages, all incomes, and all abilities deserve safe and secure homes, and River House, an 8-bedroom suite integrated within one of our condominium buildings, is designed to support people with intellectual disabilities, a living, breathing testament to inclusion. In short, partnership and collaboration have allowed us to create many pathways to affordable living here in Regent Park, across our portfolio and throughout our 41-year history. The models and the pathways exist. But let's be clear about one very important fact. Simply building more homes faster will not translate into healthy, complete, and inclusive communities. Slashing red tape will not translate into affordability, into supportive housing that addresses homelessness, or into affordable or accessible homes integrated within every new community across the country. In my view, more important than speed is an intentional focus on building a healthy social infrastructure, on the fine-grained threads of social and cultural connectivity that transform buildings into communities. Yes, the challenge is enormous, but the solutions exist within a whole of community approach to affordability, with all sectors collaborating, talking to each other, stacking both resources and expertise. Government investment is essential. It is clear, however, that the public sector will not foot the entire bill. Today's launch of Partners for Affordable Housing recognizes that fact, opening the door for the philanthropic sector to take a long overdue seat at the table. Philanthropy is an enormous untapped resource, and it is time for family foundations, both large and small, to embrace affordability as part of their mission and their mandate. It is also more important than ever for our largest corporations, including our banks, to start investing in affordability for their clients of all ages, but also for their workforce, tens of thousands of whom struggle to find an affordable home in proximity to where they work. We all know that affordable housing is a primary social determinant of health. Housing is health. There is no mystery. If we create safe, secure, and affordable homes across our country, we will reduce the cost of health care while increasing the social, the physical, and the economic well-being of all Canadians. Partners for Affordable Housing is a game changer that is already building a national sense of purpose around affordability, filling an enormous gap in the affordable housing ecosystem. We can address affordability. The solutions, the pathways exist. All that's needed is the will to act, to invest, to make a difference. Today is a milestone day on that pathway, a day to harness the will and to truly make an impact. Heartfelt thank you to Jolene, Shelley, and the entire team at Partners for Affordable Housing. Your leadership is inspiring all of us in this room and beyond to build communities across this country in which everyone is welcome and everyone belongs. Thank you. Thank you so much. I now have an amazing, great pleasure to introduce someone to all of you. I met this young woman quite a few years ago. I think it was maybe 2008 or 9. I don't know, something like that. She was young. And she lived in this community. She grew up in this community. And I was doing with my partner Martin and others on our team what we do, which is we were getting involved, we were meeting people, we were here on the ground, knocking on doors, getting to know teachers, getting to know principals at the school, getting to know the social service agencies. And one of those agencies was Dixon Hall. So we got invited to an event that Dixon Hall was hosting because we knew, and the team from Dixon Hall knew, that we would have to demolish their very cherished youth center, a hugely important part of the Regent Park community, the Dixon Hall Youth Center. It was something that had to be demolished. So the team from Dixon Hall and our team got together and began to think about, we have to create a new youth center. And so to do that, Dixon Hall would need to bring together donors, philanthropists, supporters. So they held an event at a big tower downtown. I think it was TD Bank that hosted. And they invited me. And they invited this young woman, a spoken word artist from the neighborhood, to come and talk about her experience growing up in the community, her experience of the revitalization and how it was impacting her and her family, her people, her community. And I'll never forget, I was there and I thought, when I heard her speak, oh my God, she was speaking with her voice the truth that she was experiencing, the challenge of seeing the home and the homes that she and her friends had grown up with demolished, destroyed, the playgrounds, the places that people gathered. And I'll never forget the poem that she did. There was a lot of breaking stuff in there. There was glass, there was bricks, it was like a mess, but it was her truth. It was the truth of this community, and it was so powerful. And after that, I introduced myself to her, and we started to talk, and we got to know each other. And subsequently, over many, many years, Trevlyn, Kennedy, and I have worked together. When I began thinking about writing music, songs about Regent Park that ultimately turned into a musical called The Journey, when I began thinking about that, I called Trevlyn, and we sat with Trevlyn and a couple other young people from the neighborhood and began to talk about how might we tell the story. Gila, my colleague and partner at Daniels, was there, thinking about how do we tell this story through the eyes, the emotions, the hurt that local residents like Trevlyn and her family were feeling. But out of that came the Journey musical. I think 5 iterations of the Journey musical. Trevlyn was part of the writing team. Trevlyn starred in every one of those. Trevlyn is an incredible spoken word artist, poet, who now works at Dixon Hall. But right now she's on maternity leave, and that's pretty darn exciting. I want to welcome Trevlyn Kennedy to the stage.
Thanks, Mitch. Hello, everybody. I felt like I had like a flashback moment as Mitch was sharing the history of Regent Park and the photo of the one kid looking out the window. Got me really emotional, actually. This conversation is so important. Conversations like this happened to get our community where it is today. And I know I've said this before, but that was such a huge feat to even move forward, and so is this one. And dreams, hopes are built within this work that you're all gathered here to hopefully move forward. And I'm thankful that I've been welcomed to be a part of it. Just gonna move this. You've heard it all before. You can't do it. You can do it. Back against the wall, feet still moving. Keep on moving. What is your war? Keep on fighting. You've gotta keep on fighting. What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? It takes vision to hold sand and see buildings. It takes something more to hold promises and find home again. See, this journey truly is the path that is not yet done, not yet seen, not always chosen, not always clean, but it's the one that causes more to be seen. So thank you for the belief that more can come from a treasure kept buried. Thank you for the bridges built, the stories told, the huddles holding on to homes that bulldozers could never erase. For the leap into a city of its own, for seeing hope and groundbreaking dreams. See, home here knows how to hold when the ground starts to shake, how to duck, how to move, how to dance, how to sing, how to love again and again when bedroom paint crumbles and the promise of better still feels like tomorrow. When childhood places become memories, footprints left only for those that are open and willing to find home. We make our way back home even when our buildings escape us. Even in the morning and praying for a new way, we find our way back home. You see, it takes more than bricks and mortars for hearts to heal, to feel. It's a ground for daring and forgiving, the ground for sprouting and unfolding dreams. Dreams were built here, forming from rubble, sand to bricks, no lights to stars, nothing into something. We've had our fair share of spinning what could easily be forgotten into gold. Dreams here are our history, mixed with opportunity, the advocacy of those before me, breaking bread to share, taking time to care, taking time to care. Dreams here are the people holding true, standing strong, awakening to what is yet to come, the first lines of a melody, a song that reaches beyond a pen, beyond a passion, beyond these doors. Dreams made all the difference here. You've heard it all before. You can do it. You can do it. Back against the wall, feet still moving, you gotta keep on moving. What is your war? Keep on fighting, you gotta keep on fighting. What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? Thank you.
Thank you, Trevlyn, for sharing your voice and vision with us. That was very powerful, and I'm sure I'm not speaking for myself, only for myself, but you definitely gave me goosebumps with that. So very powerful, and thank you for being with us tonight. The next community architect partner that I'd like to introduce is People's Group, a Canadian financial institution with a strategic focus on multifamily mortgage financing. They've been an important early supporter of the Tenant Stability Fund and truly understand how housing stability strengthens both communities and local economies. It's my pleasure to welcome Lauren Thompson, Senior Vice President of Business Development, Lending, and Partnerships from People's Group, to share a few words. Lauren.
Yes, talk about goosebumps. That's a hard act to follow. But this has truly been and is an incredibly inspiring event, and it is a privilege to be in a room filled with so many passionate voices. We are thrilled to be a community architect partner and be part of this cause. At People's Group, housing isn't just part of what we do. It's been at the heart of our mission for more than 40 years. We believe it's a cornerstone for economic and social stability and something that every Canadian should be able to count on. But today, as we've heard, that foundation is under strain. And that's why we're proud to partner on this particular cause and drive systemic change. Affordable housing is complex, it's deeply rooted, and it demands every voice be at the table. We all know that government cannot solve this alone, and that real progress only happens when all aspects of our community are together: public, private, not-for-profit, corporate, and financial institutions. That's what makes Partners for Affordable Housing such a powerful ally. They're uniting diverse stakeholders, like many of us in this room, to create innovative, scalable solutions that strengthen our housing stability nationwide. At People's Group, we believe housing isn't just about the buildings, it's about the people. It's about the families, it's about the communities, having a foundation to thrive. With almost $2 billion in annual CMHC construction financing commitments, we help mission-aligned developers build quickly and build confidently. By focusing on multifamily residential, we support housing solutions that reflect the evolving needs of Canadians, delivering purpose-built rental across the economic spectrum. Our work is rooted in stability, dignity, and opportunity for communities across Canada. That's why we're proud to partner on the Tenant Stability Fund, which unlocks existing rental housing and helps people stay housed through periods of financial constraint. Tonight highlights why this work is so important. And next you'll hear from somebody who sees this impact every single day. Covenant House is Canada's largest agency supporting youth who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. For more than 40 years, they've provided housing, wraparound services, and other pathways to stability for young people, helping more than 100,000 youth through their programs. Their impact reminds us that housing is more than just shelter. It's a foundation for opportunity and hope. I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker from Covenant House. Please join me in welcoming Josie de Rego. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all, and nice to see so many people turn out for this wonderful inaugural event. I've had the pleasure of working with partners now for, I would say, almost, maybe 8 months or so. I was introduced to partners through Mitch Cohen. Mitch has been a long-standing supporter of Covenant House and a champion in some of the work that we're doing around housing for young people. And today you've already heard so many folks talk about the importance of housing and how housing is not just about a roof over your head. It means so much more. It's the same for our young people. We work with youth between the ages of 16 to 24. And one of the biggest issues that we have in terms of providing supports and solutions for our young people is that many of them come to us without any skill or life experiences. So it makes it a little bit difficult in terms of looking at the kinds of housing that would best suit their needs, because they need a lot of support. So it's not just about finding a space and putting the young people in a space. It's about figuring out what the needs are, wrapping the right supports around them, as well as providing the roof over their head. So when we do that, we know that it's more than just the roof. It's about safety, it's about stability, and it's about opportunity. Because when a young person is just living to survive, they can't move forward with their lives, right? They're thinking about, am I going to have a roof over my head? Am I going to get my food today? Or what am I trading off in order to get some of these needs met? So when we're looking at housing, we're looking at where that young person is in their trajectory. Like, where are they at right now? And so we have a goal. It's quite an ambitious goal, I'll have to tell you, that we are going to have 400 transitional housing beds in the community by 2027. And when we started on this journey, it was actually, we didn't have this goal 12 years ago, but we actually started on this journey 12 years ago, and Mitch was one of the first folks that came along that journey with us. And we knew we needed to do something, but we weren't quite sure what it was that we wanted to do. And we started talking to developers, and we went to see Mitch. And he gave us some time, which was really nice of him, and then he gave us some apartments for our young people. And we've been working with Daniels and Mitch since that time. It's because of that program that he thought it would make a lot of sense for us to align with partners. We had a lot of common goals. And it was through that alignment that a donor of partners sort of put their hand up. They were quite interested in what we were doing. They were quite interested in this lofty goal that we have to get 400 units in the community by 2024. And just so you know, we're at 315. So we're headed there. Anyway, so we met with this donor, and he was very interested. He was very inspired by the young people, and he wanted to do something. And part of our transitional housing program, as I was saying, it has a lot of varying programs, so it depends on the young person's abilities. But this particular program that he was interested in really aligns really nicely with rent supplements, because it was about creating rent subs for young people who have a little bit more independence. And so we met with this donor, and he really wanted to support our youth. And within a very short period of time, he made a commitment of $900,000. Yes, you can clap. That is a lot of money. And that was just this summer, and what that's supposed to help us with is 20 youth in spaces this year, another 10 next year. It includes the wraparound supports that they need and the staffing, so it's not just rent supplementation. And it also required us to expand our network of partners. So the the theme here of partnership is really important, as you can see. And so between the time that he made this commitment and as of last week, we had commitments for 17 units out of the 20. We've hired our staff that's going to be working with these young people. And 3 young people will be moving into their brand new apartments before the holiday season. So we're very excited about that. Anyway, I think all is to say that when communities come together and everybody buys into being part of a solution, magic can happen. And we see this over and over and over again. Certainly we get support from the government for some of our housing programs. It's at 40%, which means that 60% is coming from philanthropy. Covenant House is quite unusual for the type of organization it is within the social services sector. We actually raise 70–80% of our operating funds on an annual basis. So it's only about 20% comes from government funding. And we have a fairly lofty budget of about $55 million a year. So you can see that philanthropy plays a very significant component in the work that we do. And Covenant House today is not the Covenant House that it used to be when we first opened our doors 40 years ago. We started off as a shelter, and now we're basically a solution for homelessness and youth who have been trafficked. And so our programming is very deep, and we are very much a relentless organization to solve some of these issues, but we understand that we can't do that alone. It has to be the community coming together in order to create the solutions that our young people need. And we know that when young people are successful, our communities are successful, and that is really important. So the last thing I will leave you with is the other day I was chatting with one of our youth, and they were so excited, and I could see that they were so proud, and they had this real level of confidence that I hadn't seen in this person in a while. And they showed me a key, and it was a key to their first apartment, and they were so proud. I get choked up because I started feeling like the proud mom a little bit. Not that I had anything to do with it, but it just, you sort of share the joy because we work where we serve the young people, so we get to see them every day, which is phenomenal. But it's such a gift, the gift that you can experience that joy with that young person, but also the gift that the community is providing for these young people so that they have a real shot at their future. So thank you very much for wanting to be a part of that.
Thank you, Josie. Your words really do, again, there was goosebumps, I'm getting tears, so I think your words really help us to understand why these kinds of programs are so crucial. Innovative solutions like those created by Covenant House, as Josie spoke about, they're ready, and funding is really a key barrier to scaling them. So, as we've said earlier, there are many community agencies and organizations that know the solutions, and we want to help to grow and scale those excellent solutions that are already at play in our communities. Our next community architect partner is another founding supporter of the Tenant Stability Fund. BMO is inspired by their purpose to boldly grow the good in business and life, and is dedicated to strengthening Canadian communities, making a commitment of $12 billion in financing and $5 million in philanthropic funding for affordable housing initiatives. It's my pleasure to welcome John Uren, Managing Director, Sustainable Finance from BMO Capital Markets, to share a few words.
Thank you, Shelley, and Jolene and Shelley, before I start. Congratulations. This is amazing. Like, what an incredible event with a beautiful group of people here. To borrow, Josie, your phrase, like, magic can happen. And we're seeing magic in this room. And over 2 years, to have raised $7 million. Like, I have an almost 2-year-old, and she hasn't raised any money yet at all. But it's incredibly impressive. Now, to borrow Trevlyn's words, keep on moving, keep on fighting. What are you dreaming for? And I would submit that the folks in this room and what we're going to see in the community are dreams realized. So congratulations. So my role in sustainable finance touches on a number of matters ranging from the environmental issues to social issues, but few, if any, are more important than affordable housing because it creates strong and sustainable communities. That's at the core of providing affordable housing, and that is at the core of what Partners is doing. As Shelley mentioned at BMO, our purpose is to boldly grow the good in business and life for a thriving economy, a sustainable future, as well as stronger communities. Affordable housing is critical. Housing stability is foundational for health, for education, for employment. It enables families to thrive, and it supports inclusive economic growth. Affordable housing boosts workplace productivity, it reduces commuting costs, and it helps businesses attract talent. When housing costs are manageable, households have more disposable income, which strengthens local economies. But unfortunately in Canada, housing has become unaffordable for too many. Indeed, it's the burning challenge of our lifetime. And it's incumbent on organizations like BMO, others in the private sector, public sector, as well as through philanthropy, with the help of organizations like Partners for Affordable Housing, to do our part in helping to solve this problem. We know this challenge requires bold action and collaboration. That's why BMO is mobilizing cross-sector collaboration and financing solutions that make housing more affordable. As Shelley mentioned, we've committed $12 billion towards affordable housing over 10 years. We've partnered with Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services and provided $50 million in credit lines to expand affordable and accessible housing for Indigenous peoples in Canada. On the philanthropic side, we're working with nonprofits, Indigenous organizations, housing developers, including Habitat for Humanity, who's here tonight, Homes for Heroes, I believe also here, Covenant House Vancouver, we just heard from Covenant House, and House of Friendship Kitchener, among others. This also includes BMO's recently announced commitment to Partners for Affordable Housing to help launch the Tenant Stability Fund, bridging the urgent housing gap by keeping tenants and current tenants stable in their homes, supporting quick access to vacant stock, and preventing the costly and traumatic cycle of eviction and homelessness. Our $100,000 commitment funds a full year of tenant support services for up to 50 households, such as a dedicated case management, financial literacy training, eviction prevention supports that help households remain steady and stably housed. Affordable housing isn't just about bricks and mortar or sand and bricks and mortar. It's about creating opportunity, stability, dignity for individuals and families. And at BMO, we're proud to play our part. We know real progress happens when we work together. So with that, I'm delighted to announce our next speaker, Leslie Allen, who's the Executive Director of Wynn House. For over 55 years, Wynn House in Edmonton has been a safe haven for women, children, and non-binary individuals fleeing gender-based violence. As Alberta's largest domestic violence shelter, their mission extends far beyond emergency beds. They offer wraparound supports that empower individuals to heal, rebuild, and move forward. Please join me in welcoming Leslie to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Our dream started with a number. The number was 2,000. That's how many women every year for the last 3 years, when they called for refuge, we had to say, "I'm sorry, we don't have room for you." And they called the other shelter in Edmonton that provided emergency services, and we had to say, "I'm sorry, we don't have room for you there either." These are women fleeing some of the most terrible situations, and the amount of courage and just tenacity that it takes to pick up that phone and imagine being told, I'm sorry, we just don't have room. So that started us thinking, okay, we can't keep doing this. What are we going to do? And we recognized that women were staying in emergency shelters far too long. And that, of course, is just because of the affordable housing crisis that we have right across Canada. We decided that what we needed to do is to build a second and third stage complex of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments that had the services for the women to be able to actually grow, get the services that they needed, and to have a safe and sustainable exit. That's a philosophy that Win House leans in on, and that is to allow women to ensure that they have safety, number one, but number two, that they're not going to bounce back in the system, that they're not being asked to leave after 1 month or 5 months or whatever a funder prescribes is supposed to be the amount of time that the person is supposed to stay. So we have a philosophy that how long are women going to stay? Well, some of them maybe about a month, other women maybe a year, some women maybe even 10 years. It all depends on their personal circumstances. So that's the philosophy of how we are going about our build. Win House has the second philosophy, and that's around partnership. I was lucky to hear Jolene about a year and a half ago talk about Partners for Affordable Housing, and I went, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the secret sauce for us to be able to tackle this incredibly big problem that we're all facing. But how do we do it? Because it's not only just talking about how do we fund, but how do we work together as different groups to be able to say, we are going to go forward. We are going to use expertise from each of the areas, whether it's governmental, whether it is the business sector, whether it's a not-for-profit sector, or the philanthropic sector. How do we all work together to be able to create what is going to be needed? We've got a big job ahead of us. I know at Win House, we can't do it alone. We need support, and we need support from all of you in this room. I am so excited and happy to be a part of Front Door. Our project is up. Please feel free to take a look at it. We're really excited. We're going to have our shovels in the ground by next spring. We've already gotten 3 levels of support from our government, so that is, we're ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned. So we feel we've got a sustainable project. We have incorporated community. That was the big thing in our community engagement, is that this was just not going to be a building built in a community. We are depending on that community to support the women who are going to be living there, because they're coming with nothing. And a lot of times that also means relationships. So they need neighbors. And so we're asking the neighborhood, our community, to be able to wrap around them so that they feel welcomed and a part of their new home. I also am very much looking forward to the support if women are actually running into problems as far as making rent, and working with Partners for Affordable Housing in that area too. Thank you all for coming out and supporting organizations such as Win House. It really is going to be, like I said, I think the secret sauce to getting done what we need to get done. Thanks for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. That message about the power of working together captures exactly why this collective effort matters and is a perfect dovetail into, I keep having to move this down, into the closing remarks. So as we bring our formal program to a close, I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to every partner, speaker, donor, and community leader in the room. Your presence reflects the urgency of this moment and the collective belief that Canada can build something better. For all of our National Housing Week partners, People's Group, BMO, Peakhill Capital, Vancity Community Investment Bank, Colliers, the Nagpal Veer Family Foundation, Win House, Connective, and CCOC, we're deeply grateful for your commitment to our work and partnership for our first National Housing Week campaign. We hope this is the first of many. In addition to supporting tonight's event, our partners have also supported a National Housing Day supplement in the Globe and Mail, which will be in this Friday's paper and help to amplify our collective message nationally. So we invite you to look for that later this week. If you still subscribe to the Globe and Mail, then don't miss that one. And if you don't, then please go out and buy a copy so that you can take a look at our supplement. We have some amazing stories, some similar to the ones that you've heard tonight, and some other stories from across the country of the work that we're doing. I would also like to thank the World Urban Pavilion for hosting us, for our amazing local caterers, Cafe Zuzu and Garcia Eats. I think there's some empanadas somewhere that are probably really delicious. Our events team from Beyond, Amy and Courtney, the AV team from Soul Power, the photography and video team from B Video, and the entire Partners for Affordable Housing team, both here in Toronto and in Calgary, that have helped to make this event such a success. Thank you also to Mitchell, our keynote speaker. Thank you to Trevlyn for your amazing performance. And thank you also to the team at Daniels that helped us execute tonight. You've heard tonight that more than 4 million households are in core housing need, and that families with the lowest incomes often have less than $1,000 a month available for rent. You've also heard that socially inspired capital, the blend of philanthropy, corporate community investment, and social impact financing, has played transformational roles in healthcare, education, and social services, yet has been largely absent from housing for far too long. Partners for Affordable Housing was created to close this gap. We are connecting funders, housing providers, government partners, developers, and community leaders through the P4 model so that promising community-led housing solutions finally have the resources to move forward. Each person in this room has a role to play, whether through investment, advocacy, collaboration, or connection. Together, we can help open doors for individuals and families who need stable housing now and not years from now. So if you're looking for something that you can do after tonight, you've heard from some of our founding partners of the Tenant Stability Fund. There's a QR code on this poster right here. So if you'd like to make a donation to the Tenant Stability Fund, you can do that very easily through the QR code. You've also heard about Front Door, our first affordable housing project directory in Canada. It's now available, ready to take projects. If you have a project that needs funding, please connect with us, and we'll get that project up on Front Door. If you're interested in learning about all the amazing projects on Front Door that are looking for funding, then we would also love to share more details with you about those projects and help you find one that might be a match for your interests. So with that, our formal part of our program comes to a close, but we are here to host, continue with a networking reception following this event. So please don't scoosh out really quick unless you really need to. I want to invite you to stay, mingle, continue the conversation during our reception. Mitchell has graciously donated 50 autographed copies of Rhythms of Change, but there are, as you can probably see, more than 50 people in the room. So I think if you really want a copy, then you should hustle over to that table shortly after we convene. And I believe Mitchell will also be available for maybe the next 20 to 30 minutes to personalize your book if you would like him to do so. Once again, thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy to see the room filled, and I'm so grateful for all of you that came tonight to support us in this national launch. It's been a really, really exciting development in this journey that we've been on for the last 3 years. So we look forward to continuing the conversation with each of you, and thank you very much for coming. Good night.